Oliver, the Vice Chair.
Hey, folks! Thank you. You all take your seats. You can begin.
I know I'm not a very compelling speaker. But luckily, I'm just here to facilitate. Again, I'm Jeremy Oliver. It's nice to see you all. The first thing, we're not going to make you too many icebreakers or anything, but is there anyone here tonight who hasn't been to one of our meetings before, one of our chapter meetings? Awesome. See a few people, half a dozen people. Nice to have you here. Thanks for coming. We're just going to have like 5-10 minutes of announcements. We'll try and make it quick and painless. And Sarah, I think, has one to start off.
Hello, I am Sarah Mastro. I am the Expo Chair, and our annual Outdoor Expo is June 13th, 2026. And while that seems like a long ways away, we are already starting to get our list together of clubs and organizations that we invite to the event. So if you have someone in mind that you haven't seen there in the past, please see me after the program. I have a card, and you can email me any information that you might have about that club, and we'll get them on our list to get the invite sent out to them. So thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jim Miller. I'm currently the Trails co-chair. I just want to remind everybody that we have a lot of hikes on our calendar. Take a look. And we do hike throughout the winter. In fact, my favorite time to hike is in the winter.
No bugs.
There's no bugs. But yeah, no bugs. The leaves are down, the views are better. And there's something about the quiet in the forest that's covered in snow. So it's kind of a special time. So if anybody's interested in participating in the hikes and leading the hikes, to organize the hikes. If anybody's interested in doing anything with the hiking component of this organization, just see me afterwards or send an email to the Trails email on our website.
All right. I was going to use the lectern. Is that okay? Yeah. Don't worry, I don't have that many notes. First thing I wanted to say, our first announcement, we have a couple things coming up next month in this chapter meeting. One of those things, we're going to have a couple of votes, and one may be a pro forma vote, but in any case, the first thing is that every 5 years or so, you can't hear me? Hello? I got to yell right in it. All right. This feels intimate. But if this is better, okay. So in December, at this meeting, we're going to have a vote on a proposed amendment to the Articles of Association, which is really just the governing document, the rules and guidelines for this local chapter. And every 5 years or so, we look through the articles and decide if there's any changes that might be worth making. So I'm just going to read you a short summary of these changes. And again, these won't go into effect unless they get approved next month by a vote of all of you at this meeting. So the first bit is a little bit, which is that the chapter's vice chairperson, which happens to be me at the moment, will be expected, although not required, to eventually move into another leadership position on the executive committee, ideally taking over the role of the chapter chair. So this is just to kind of clarify, not like a strict order of succession on our executive committee, but sort of a guideline. So the second bit, and this is the more important bit, is that we're proposing to amend this so that on the executive committee, which is comprised of the officers of the chapter, that's a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, a treasurer, and what do we call it? Advisory committee liaison. So there's those 5 folks, and then all the people that sit on the various, like Jim is a co-chair of the Trails Committee, you have the paddling group and so on, and all those folks sit on the executive committee as well. We are suggesting that we have 1 or 2 at-large members of the executive committee where these would be new positions that we're creating for folks to have an opportunity to sit on the committee and get acquainted with the workings of the chapter before they move on to another leadership position. That's the idea. These positions would be for 2-year terms. They would, people would come, the two folks could come to our monthly executive committee meeting, which is a great time, by the way, and lots of jokes. And they will be expected, although not required, to eventually move on to another leadership role with the chapter. So that's, I don't want to drag that out anymore, but we're going to be voting on that next month here at this meeting. The other thing we're voting on next month is for the leadership positions, the 5 leadership positions that I described. And what usually happens is it's like a circular firing squad, and we stand in a circle and we go, no, you're going to be the president next year. What we have is we have a slate of candidates that we expect will probably all get elected next month at the meeting. Those candidates are Jim Miller for chairperson. I'm running for vice chairperson again. Greg Spentheim, our treasurer, staying on again. Our secretary, Michelle Barnhardt, staying on as secretary. And Bill Lindenfelser, who's our advisory council trustee, staying on in that role as well. So that's our plan. But you're all welcome to nominate yourselves or anyone else for one of those positions. This isn't a dictatorship entirely. So if you are at all interested in nominating yourself or anyone else, you can get in touch with Reinhard, our chairperson. He'll be back in town soon. You can look on the website. You can see the procedure, the nominating procedure, but also we can explain that to you if need be. So you've got a couple of weeks to make a nomination if you so choose. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jackson real quickly. He doesn't need a microphone, he's going to yell.
ADK calendars are in, as I promised last month, and the best news is that we're beating inflation from then until now, because I'm selling these at the same price as I did last year. Wow, huh? $15 will let you take home one of these little beauties and help ADK at the same time. See me at the bookstore table, please, after the program. Thanks, everybody!
I have one other quick thing, which is that if you are interested in hearing stories about the Adirondacks that are being collected by, I think the New Jersey chapter is taking the lead on this, but, or at least they're promoting it heavily. But it's called ADK, the website called adkvoices.org, and you can hear or read folks' stories, and you can also submit your own. So consider doing that if you have any good stories. And I'm going to turn it over to Dave Nichols. Dave's going to present our Volunteer of the Year Award, and then we'll get on with our program. Thanks, Dave.
Hi, folks. I'm Dave Nichols. I'm past chair, and I'm also the coordinator for the Volunteer of the Year Award. Our chapter has well over 100 volunteers, and everything we've done that's humanly possible is because some volunteer, or many volunteers, have been very active in the club. For this chapter, we give out a Volunteer of the Year Award to recognize that volunteer that stands head and shoulders above, or their contributions stand head and shoulders above most of the volunteers. It's a way of recognizing those who've really gone above and beyond the typical volunteer contribution. Bruce Thayer, would you come up here, please? Bruce is this year's Volunteer of the Year Award, and I'd like to give the executive committee voted unanimously to recognize Bruce's efforts. And I want to read just a little bit of the nominating script that Bill Littenfelser provided. GVC's segment of the Finger Lakes Trail is kept in fine shape due to the diligence of Bruce Thayer. Bruce is the Finger Lakes Trail steward for our chapter. We maintain about 10 miles of the Finger Lakes Trail, all by volunteers and all led by Bruce. This is a major undertaking involving volunteer recruitment, tool organization, and coordination with the FLT conference every year. But he goes well beyond those steps. He scouts the trail before workdays to assess the upcoming maintenance needs. Additional long trips are needed for that to go down to the southern tier. One special thing he did last year comes to mind. He made a custom jigsaw puzzle that depicts a memorial bench for Pam Shue, where the FLT crosses the Shue property. This was an especially appropriate effort that melded GVC's interest in responsible recreation and the FLTC's interest in maintaining support among landowners and respecting all that the landowner's family has done for the FLT. I'm really pleased to provide this certificate to Bruce in recognition of Volunteer of the Year for 2025.
I don't think we have any more announcements, but if we do, throw your hand up. Anybody? No? All right.
So our program chair, Katie, wasn't able to make it tonight, so I got tapped in for introducing our presentation tonight by Dr. Joe Dadey. Dr. Dadey is an experienced trip leader and educator during his career, and is now the co-founder of an organization called Adirondack Hamlets, which is a novel sort of idea where they sort of coordinate exposure to the outdoors, taking people on trips, with exposure to the communities that surround those outdoor areas. So to integrate those people who live in the communities that around the areas that we go out to enjoy the outdoors. And he's going to start his presentation with a film by John Barnhardt about a trip that was taken by a group of young people that traveled 375 miles from New York City up the Hudson all the way up to Mount Marcy. And Dr. Dadey was one of the leaders on this trip, and he'll show the film and then answer questions. So welcome.
Thank you to the Genesee Valley chapter of the Adirondack Mountain Club. I am very happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to share this film that documents this 15-day, 375-mile expedition that we put together for 8 young men who traveled all self-powered from the summit of Mount Marcy all the way down across the George Washington Bridge to Jersey City. Just a couple things about the film that you'll see. You'll note that we did a citizen science project along the way, where we conducted water quality analysis of the Hudson River. And we had originally wanted to stay along the entire course of the river. We wanted to stay on the water, but the expedition was long enough to sea kayak from Albany down to New York City. Would have taken like 8 days. And learning about what that took in the middle of summer, I was advised that it should be about 8 days. And this person told me that if you try to do it quicker, sooner, 5 days, something like that, you're going to put people in trouble in terms of exposing them to heat and whatnot. So we decided to bike from around Albany, Troy, down to New York City. And then we were able to access the river at a couple of points along the way where we could draw some more water samples. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And then also you'll see there were a couple of days back to back where we had to do 7 canoe carries, 7 portages to go around the hydroelectric dams that we encountered as we approached Glens Falls. So that was a key couple of days. There were 7, and the longest one was maybe 1.5 miles. And as you'll see, we weren't in the Kevlar canoes. We were in the Royal X canoes because, you know, we were bagging some rocks and there were some rapids and things along the way. So, yeah, Adirondack Hamlets the Huts. We're a nonprofit based in Saranac Lake, New York, up in the Adirondacks where I live. We're motivated to foster vibrant communities, environmental stewardship, and wellness. And the way we do that is through the creation of this community-based hut-to-hut system. Hut in our application or model is a little bit different. Hut could be a whole spectrum of lodging, from the very simple, could be glamping tents with people sleeping on cots, up to, say, Great Camp Sagamore or the Hedges in Blue Mountain Lake, and everything in between: motels, hotels, great camps, inns, and lodges. So what we provide, essentially, is a nonprofit, 3 services. We set people up with reservations and a variety of accommodations. We shuttle their luggage, and Jim Kelly here is one of our main guys, a Rochester resident. He helps us out big time doing what he does, moving people's luggage. And then also we help people if they need to rent a canoe or a gravel bike, we will do that as well. So that's what Adirondack Hamlets' Huts is about. And I'm happy to talk more about that after the presentation of the movie. And again, as Jim said, thank you for the introduction. I'll answer questions about the documentary or whatever after the film. Thank you very much. Turn this on.
We aren't the first to do this. It isn't revolutionary to say that the Hudson River needs our help. There's no reason why every one of us on the planet can't take part in the measurement of something while we're in the outdoors. These 8 students will have taken the We aren't the first to do this. It isn't revolutionary to say that the Hudson River needs our help. There's no reason why every one of us on the planet can't take part in the measurement of something while we're in the outdoors. These 8 students will have taken the maximum amount of learning from this experience and pay it forward so that another set of 8 students can take on their first river wherever it may be. That's what makes this truly unique. We haven't lost hope. Up, come on, up, this way, come on, up. With my best pal Twinkie, thinking about the upcoming trip and hoping all the planning in the living rooms over the last several months come together. My name is Tim Keyes, and I am the science coordinator for the Hudson River Source to Sea expedition. You know, my hopes for this trip, some are simple and some are more complicated. When everything comes together, it makes sense out of the data that we've gathered, and that we created 8 new explorer scientists who can then fan out and do this good work in equal or better measure in all the rivers of the world in their own way and against new challenges that they may face. Hey, Joe.
My name is Greg Morrison. I'm an educator, explorer, and the founder of Mountain Goat Movement. About a year and a half ago, I brought up a number of students from the Jersey City area to the Adirondacks for our annual Mount Marcy hike. And Joe and I got to thinking, you know, is there a way for us to collaborate on a trip that merges his world in the Adirondacks and mine in the southern aspect of the Hudson River in Jersey City? And so we came up with this idea of curating a human-powered adventure, a traverse of the entire Hudson River, from the source point to the sea, from Lake Tier to Lady Liberty, Mount Marcy to Manhattan. And you know, what originated as a moment of curiosity built into this incredible project, and I think all great exploration stems from just that. Classroom environments, podcasts, books, movies, all these things are amazing. They promote awareness, they promote understanding, but unless we go out and actually do the work, what is the point? Joe and I spent an incredible amount of time planning out the logistics. I knew that this was going to be a challenging but immensely rewarding trip.
Oh, here we go.
So the trip started on Mount Marcy, the highest point in New York. Folks can do Mount Marcy on their own in less than 8 hours if they wanted to. But for us, as an entire expedition of multiple personality types and ages and experiences, that Mount Marcy day proved to be more challenging than a typical hike up Mount Marcy.
Mount Marcy was an experience I'll never forget. We took what, like 20 hours, 21 hours, and we hiked until 3:30 in the morning.
It was late afternoon, 5, 6 o'clock, maybe even later. Again, beautiful day, but even though it was in the middle of summer, daylight was waning. So then I started to, again, do a little bit of a reality check and looking forward. How many miles did we have? We probably still had at that point 8 miles to go, which is no small amount as it was getting, probably towards 7 o'clock.
At one point we had to pull all our food and, just everyone coming together for one to help everyone else out. It's really cool to see. Also just getting to know everyone as we hiked up this huge mountain. When we finally got to camp, though, it was a big sigh of relief that that was over.
20 plus hours of hiking is not for the faint of heart. It's called type 2 fun. Not fun in the moment, but you look back on it, super fun. This adventure is very, very new to me. The longest hike I've done before this was 4 or 5 hours, so that 21-hour hike was brutal, but really rewarding. The hike really strengthened our bond, and even in the beginning, we were still, pushing ourselves, and up until the end where we couldn't really see 2 feet in front of us, we had to just keep pushing, and we were just talking to each other. We were just trying to keep our mind off of the pain. I've never been more impressed with a group of students to conquer adversity in the way that they did. These were 8 young men who didn't know each other 2 days prior. And then, not according to plan, they had to hike through the night. And they did it singing, they did it smiling, and they did it building each other up. And that's the whole point of doing something like this. It went up the highest point in New York, not just to the summit, but to the backside of Lake Tier, the source of the Hudson River.
I think people my age should be doing trips like this because it gets them outside, it gets them to see new experiences that they wouldn't get to see originally. Like we were up on Marcy and it was just gorgeous, and a lot of people hike Marcy, but not many people my age that I know do.
I love putting trips together. I love putting experiences together because that's a way for me to share the outdoors and adventure and nature with people. So, it was challenging, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, guys, we're here, Lake Tier of the Clouds. This is the first water sample testing we're going to do of the 24 or so on our trip. Awesome spot to begin with here. We want to do a water quality study of the river from where it begins to where it ends.
Like Tim Key says, you're out there, you might as well measure something right.
There's so much to learn. We wanted to accomplish an experiential learning, sort of outdoor classroom aspect of this. Make it achievable, make it accessible for the broadest audience possible, including with young people like we had on the expedition. And so we are all trained. Remember our school days, right? It was textbook, maybe it was a lab, but science can also be done in a lab that is the natural outdoors, the natural lab. Something new we wanted to fold in. We wanted to incorporate a microplastics study and sort of test our hypotheses that most of this region that we'll pass through is sort of free of influence from microplastics spreading throughout the region. When I first experienced Lake Tier of the Clouds on the shoulder of Mount Marcy, I thought to myself, how could this be anything but uncontaminated and pure?
I didn't realize that the Hudson was nearly as long
strong as it actually was. I mean, right now we're practically in Canada. It's completely different from the river in Jersey City and New York.
So really the only part of the Hudson River I knew was the part around the Statue of Liberty, and you see photos of it and there's like trash and it looks all green and gross, but up here it's just beautiful.
Climate that's taking care of us, only in return for us taking care of it. The students were in the middle of that mixture, helping guide the science and return something to the river, giving voice to it so it can tell us what its natural condition is.
The world is changing, but for us it is our future, and so we have to be prepared and ready to handle whatever comes.
And I think it probably is not too much of a gamble to say that we're the first student-powered expedition that's doing the scientific experiment.
The science component of this trip, I think, is really important because we get to see on what part of the Hudson River is the water quality actually changing. So we are taking, I think it was 24 samples of the Hudson River, and we're just seeing what affects the quality of the water, which I think is really interesting.
Huge here because I didn't know how to test water before. I didn't know we could test it with just, a few small tools that we could put in a bag.
Well, there are various phases to the process. The first was just to conceptualize the experiment, right? We knew we wanted to add as many measurements from the source at Lake Tier, right, all the way down to New York City, so that we have highly useful data by the end of the expedition. At the end of the expedition, we will compile all the data that we've gathered and do some analysis, correlation analysis, to see what among the things that we've recorded may explain why we have high or low values.
The water testing is really cool. It just allows us to kind of see what the state of the river is. Rivers like the Hudson are vital to ecosystems, and anything we can do to fix it would be amazing. Or not even fixed, but just to raise awareness to the problem so that it helps to get it fixed.
The climate crisis has really changed and opened up a lot of people's minds in this new generation. It's really important to see that here, just being in the wilderness for so long, we can see the firsthand effects. And that's why I think that this generation is changed and has opened their eyes to what we can actually see affects climate change.
Towards the end of the river, it gets dirty and we have to figure out why that's happening. So is it water coming from other rivers? And we need to prevent that from spreading up and infecting, this beautiful land. The most fun was the rapids. Especially the kayaking down the rapids, it's just incredible. Just guiding yourself. You don't even have to paddle. And the rafting, it's even more fun because you don't have to do anything. You just let the guide take you.
It's also a lot cleaner up here, and we went canoeing and swimming. in the Hudson River. And that's something I never thought I'd do just because of how dirty it was.
You know, the rapids were absolutely massive, and it was pretty sick to like, get soaked and like to laugh and yell and scream.
While potentially many of the 8 students were only familiar with that sort of clinical view of science, they lit up when they realized that we can do science while we're also having a ton of fun in the outdoors. Make sure that we accomplish our goals, make sure that everyone stays healthy, and the fun will come along with it.
I think my favorite part of this expedition would probably be anything with Isaiah in it. Well, let me rephrase that. Paddling with Isaiah was the best thing. It's something for someone who is very extraordinary. Like me.
Nice, bravo, bravo.
Yeah, I'd say my favorite part was be like just paddling along the river, looking at nature and then singing with Isaiah. That was really good. I love that part. And then everybody's surrounding us and we're just chatting. Yeah, that was a good time. I like that. That was my favorite part.
Favorite time during the day is probably just sitting by the fire because we're all just hanging out. There's no like standard of what's going on. There's no stress of like, can you keep up with us or who's falling behind. It's just everyone relaxing.
I mean, we all did a lot of cool stuff, but just talking and bonding with each other, so those are my favorite moments.
I am Kari Safari, and I was the operations manager in charge of sleeping and eating. I wasn't paddling or biking or hiking, but I had tents to set up and food to make. And so it was just a different focus, but it was a focus.
Kari was our mom. Kari was assumed roles and responsibilities that perhaps she didn't fully understand coming into this trip. And it was quickly apparent from the onset of the trip that without Kari, this trip would not have been possible.
In the end, I realized that it required every bit of my energy and attention just to stay on task, because there was no self involved anymore. It was all about the team getting to where they needed to be every day.
I think it's important for people to reconnect with the outdoors purely on the fact that, you know, at one point we were in these woods and everyone should know how to survive. Like if you get lost, you need to know how to be in the wild for at least a few days and learn how to overcome some obstacles.
There were points of tension between some of the students.
Fix this broken bowl so we can actually put up our tent.
It was not all roses.
Give CPR to my bed right now. Isaiah, you're gonna need more than that, bud.
Students were fatigued. People were exhausted. They had to work through some of that tension together.
All the way, bro, get on it. Get on their boat.
Even though we all, you know, kind of argued.
Yeah, we're here.
You argue with your brothers the same way I'd argue with these guys.
All right, what breaks you guys? Hang on.
Yeah, you guys ready those? Here, leave them.
I'm feeling yesterday. It's cumulative, right? So we got about 12 miles in yesterday. We have 24 today. So I'm just feeling it right now.
How's it going?
It's all right.
You all right?
I'll be okay.
Anybody else? All right, how about this, kids? This is what we're going to do. Isaiah, here too, all right? So there's five on that. Nope. Where are we?
My brain is clear. That's the one thing I love most about being out here in nature. I can just completely zone out. That sound takes me to birds chirping. Like, I completely peace out in my brain. I don't think about anything else. Other than my feet in front of me and the sounds to the left and to the right of me. Yeah, I don't have to think out here. I can just do 6 minutes a week.
Another fun time I had, it's not really popular within our group, with the portages.
Portages? It was terrible.
Even though they're long, we had a really good and awesome conversations with each other.
I thought it was going to be a light carry. No, it's like miles and miles.
I do not know what the terrain is like. I don't know if it's going to be as friendly as this right here.
Portaging, which is like a mile hiking with a canoe. Takes about 2 hours for the whole team to get through. Super hard on the hands, gives you cuts, everything. So that was really hard on the body.
I don't think I've ever experienced anything as exhausting.
I definitely think I'm gonna come out of this a changed person and reap the benefits from it. You know, I've never pushed myself this hard in my life, and now I know I can do 200%.
I'm gonna feel like we're catching a second wind right now. The morale is up. We got a little bit more community right now. Get a little bit of food in our belly. I think Eli is really showing us he has skill and ability. I think everybody has something to offer here. And you know, I didn't think you had any kind of ability to start. I keep it real with you. I was like, oh man, what are we gonna get ourselves into with this boy Eli? He hasn't started biking yet, so you know.
I can talk chatter.
I got jokes too, but.
What's a draw stroke, Tom?
L shape.
L shape, okay. And if you're tight to it, what happens?
Don't turn as fast.
You don't turn as fast. Don't jump out of your canoes quickly. All right, the idea is if you're close and you're drifting, we're gonna throw a lifeline out to you. All right, you catch the lifeline and then we're gonna reel you in.
We're going to come down, you're going to pull us out, I'm going to follow you, we're going to get around the rock, and then we're going to do this, and then I'm just going to pull up the backside right behind you.
So I just have to pull up.
Right.
All right, cool.
The more we play right, the safer you're going to be. The more you break left, the more you have a chance of getting swept up into these left side rapids. You want to stay away from these rapids.
We're not entering here. That's a death trap. We're going to go up 100 yards. We're going to go over that tree.
And then approaching thunderstorm.
We got on the river early, 8:30. I was real happy with the start that we had. And wow, the headwinds today were considerable. It's amazing that we're going down river, and yet there's these swells, white caps and whatnot, that are going upriver.
Again, the group decided to not start biking from Troy, where we lodged that night, but to backtrack and go 16 miles upriver, if you will, to Stillwater, where we had to pull out the day before because of the winds and the pending thunderstorms. It wasn't like, oh man, we don't need to do that, let's just start biking from here. There was no pushback, because I think they were in the mentality of, we're going to do this the entire way, self-powered. And again, these guys are going on maybe 4 hours sleep. Then I'm thinking, okay, is it really okay to do this? Is it wise and prudent to do this? And I said, guys, what do you think? It's been a long day. You want to bike? And they said, yes, let's do it.
Marcy hike was going to be rough. That reached my expectations, but I was pumped for cycling. That was rough. I mean, 12 plus hours of cycling uphill in the heat with so many different factors really came unexpected.
There was a party where I was thinking, okay, there's no more variables. Well, of course there were. Long days. It was always like we were chasing daylight. Sometimes finishing in the dark. Flat tires and a heat advisory on the one day that we started biking. We thought we had to do 50 miles and we had to do 70.
I'm just digging down deep, same way that they're digging down deep right now. All of our asses are hurt. All of our necks are hurt. All the paddling from yesterday. We're just all feeling all of it.
It's mostly level or downhill and it's paved. And the sun is getting lower in the sky, so the temperature is much more manageable. These guys are unbelievable. They're cruising. Just like it was nothing in that sense. And I know people are feeling it, but they're rocking it out, and we'll see.
It's hard to go to bed at 10 o'clock after biking so many miles and having to wake up at 8 a.m. just to do it all again. you know, you got to make up 20 more on top of 50. It really hurts you. There were some mornings where I just did not want to get up and just wanted to quit and go home. But you got to do what you got to do.
A lot of times none of us were really feeling it. We were all down, our spirits were low, morale too. We were, many centuries ago. And we still ended up getting through. We ended up pushing on and like getting it done.
I think the most powerful moment of the trip for me was day 2 of our cycling portion.
You apples left them selling.
Selling or giving away?
I give them to you.
Right now we are getting ready to bike 60 miles all the way to Hudson. I'm scared. I'm scared for the bike ride.
Easy peasy.
This was a really tough day, and I was very nervous about the condition of the group.
Bike ride gone from 50 miles to 65, 70 miles. And that was the day, it was a 90-degree heat advisory.
And as I waited in the basement of the church, and the students came in, and we saw the dirt on their legs, we saw the sweat, we saw students who were dehydrated, fatigued, exhausted. They were still positive. They were singing, they were hugging each other, they were celebrating one another. I think Joe and I had a moment where we realized that all of the effort that went into this project was worthwhile.
I always think about first time meeting the guys and how far we've progressed into now. So yeah, I'm stoked. I'm ready to get it done. I'm ready to finish it and tell everyone I know that I completed the Hudson River.
It's on top of yesterday, pH.
On an expedition, we experienced the depth of life. 0 to 10. 14 days ago, a group of strangers, now a group of brothers. We have this moment right now, to have a day where we chase the 10s. So when we get back on our bikes right now, and whatever this day holds, just keep that in the back of your mind. We are here to chase the 10s.
It's the last day, and I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling excited to go home to my bed, but I'm also like a little sad because I want to say goodbye to this like big family we all got into. The hardest thing for me to get over was probably the mental thing of getting up every morning and keep going, because there were some mornings where I just did not want to get up and just wanted to quit and go home. I would say I'm definitely physically a different person, and mentally, you know, again, my attitude changed. I think overall I'm a much happier person now that I've done this.
Every person, every student has learned something about themselves that is far greater than the trip itself. Joe and I wanted this trip to prompt an environment and a challenge that is far more important than the act of paddling or hiking or cycling.
I think I've gained a little bit of confidence, you know, coming into like a 70-mile bike ride. Usually I'd be like, oh, I can't do this, but you know, with that whole grit piece, I've gained a new mindset. You know, 1 mile at a time, you can do this. Just these boys and these leaders that have pushed me to my boundaries and pushed those boundaries even further, unlock more in my mind.
They might have faced a lot of trepidation and uncertainty about whether or not they would be successful here. I believe that they've taken away from this, if they can accomplish the Hudson River Source to Sea expedition, they can stand tall and know that they have a great chance of accomplishing almost any other challenge in their life.
Not everyone is going to be inspired to be an environmental scientist. These are lessons that can be taken into daily life.
I had a lot of hard moments. My skills were non-existent until this trip, but I had so many great teachers, and so now I'd say I'm pretty good. I'm pretty all right. It was a humbling experience, really, because now I know what I can and can't do. It's great.
I'm ready though for the final 10 miles of sea kayaking, but I'll be sad to see the group go.
It's a new experience for me. I've never really met like a group of people and instantly felt like really comfortable with them. But I learned a lot from them as people, and especially from people around the world instead of just where you live. So I'm gonna miss those guys, and I hope they lead great lives.
When I look back on this trip in the future, I know I'll remember the connections I've made with the rest of the guys. I mean, just spending 15 straight days with them has really bonded us, and I feel like they're my brothers now. And it's really cool, and I'll always remember that.
Through your life's journey moving forward here, you're going to get thrown curveballs, and you're not going to know where they're coming from. You're not going to know what those curveballs are. On the river, we're making good progress. 20-mile-per-hour headwinds. We got to get off the river. But then what did you guys do? You guys agreed to say, you know what, we don't want to have any gap in the South Harbor traffic. guys went back and you got 20 miles to your 50-mile bike ride. That's what you did.
I think also that this trip really helped me gain a sense of perspective on how amazing the Hudson River is. Like, you can just say that a river's 400 miles or so and be done with it, but that's just a number. What really puts it into perspective is the 21 hours we spent hiking from 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. the next day. "20-mile-an-hour headwinds that we had to canoe through, and those portages where we had to carry the canoes half a mile, and we were all sore and tired. Or the biking, where people's chains broke halfway in and we had to wait a super long time to get them repaired. When we're rafting and kayaking and people flip and we have to go rescue them. All that grit and all that time and effort on our part really put into perspective how huge of a number 400 miles is. So I have a newfound respect for the Hudson River and how spectacular it really is.
In the water, and it looked pretty clean to us, certainly in the Adirondacks. So we're hopeful that we'll have some decent results. The results are meaningful one way or the other, and good results would be that it's cleaner than expected. So that remains to be seen. So we are hopeful. Now, beyond the generic pollution measurements for dissolved solids, let's see what the microplastics tells us. And interestingly, there are even microplastics in Lake Tyrolean clouds. Somewhat alarming that we found microplastics at the highest source of the Hudson, in an area where there's very little human activity other than hiking. And the height of these vertical bars indicate the level of microplastics that were observed. This portion on the left of this chart, the first 4 measurements, are all within the Adirondack Park. So clearly there is some vector by which microplastics are landing there and being distributed, flowing in from elsewhere and landing in our beloved Adirondack Park. Other sources could be at play here, but it's all finding its way into the ecosystem, ultimately finding its way into what we thought were the pristine portions of the Adirondack parks, and this is Lake Tyrolean clouds. Clearly it's less in the way of microplastics than it is at Point South here, but still this was something that we did not expect to see. All the levels of the microplastics that we observed in the 10 sample vials that we took are well above the control sample in the lab. So this is beyond any chance of being a false positive. This is significant. This is significant. And significant enough to do something about it. We got results that we were hopeful would not be observed in the Adirondack Park. Maybe that hope was ill-founded. Perhaps the measurement that we got in Lake Tyr is the worst it can get. Maybe it's the best it can get. We don't have an answer to that question at the moment, but certainly that is a question worth answering. positivity and engagement we had out of these rising high school seniors. While we may not be able to solve this in this current generation or the next generation, these young men will be aware of the issue from the outset of their working careers and their academic careers and be able to focus their efforts on it. I am hopeful because now we're not approaching this problem out of ignorance, right? We're approaching it out of a fact-based science program, which the students helped craft and execute. And now that we're all aware of the results, and this is something that is not easily forgotten by them or us. And so this is something we're going to take with us, just like all the experiences, the positive and negative experiences that we had along the route. Days that were no more than a 1 out of a 10 scale, and the days that were a 10 out of a 10 scale. And I think as it relates to the execution of this program, it's a 10. The conclusions aren't what we hoped for, but you don't do science in anticipation of good conclusions. You do science so that you learn. And so we have all learned, and with the energy that we've observed from this generation of young men, this is a problem that can be solved, and with their help and with our focus on it as a community, it will be solved.
Yeah, so Greg Morrissey, the other leader and planner, he was an English teacher at St. Peter's Preparatory School in Jersey City. So he had access to a number of young guys. So 4 of the guys were from the New York, New Jersey area. And then he had cause to go out to California to promote some of the trips he was doing with Mountain Goat Movement. So we interacted with some schools and families out on the West Coast, which is how we were able to get 2 guys from California. And then, as you noted, there were 2 guys from the Adirondacks, 1 kid from Saranac Lake where I live, and then 1 kid from Johnsburg near North Creek. And just to let you know, Tim and I, we went back up to Lake Tier the Clouds this past summer, and we wanted to do a comparison. So we hiked up Mount Redfield, which is one of the high peaks, one of the 46ers, and we bushwhacked down to Moss Pond, where there's no trails and it's pretty isolated. And we did some water testing there because we wanted to compare a water body where there are no trails to Lake Tier. So we gathered some water samples from Moss Pond, and then we bushwhacked to Lake Tier the Clouds, and we did more water samples of Lake Tier the Clouds. And, you know, the supposition, as this suggested, was that, you know, the microplastics were mostly windborne, right? And studies show that a lot of, let's say, that our tires, they go bald, that stuff goes someplace, and it's stuff as we lose our tread, and some of that becomes airborne and goes wherever and all over. But what we found when we compared the water samples from Moss Pond to Lake Tier, and as the crow flies, they're only really not even quite a mile apart, that the microplastics were 27 times more prevalent in Lake Tier than Moss Pond. So again, small sample size, but the implication suggested that, you know, there was some other thing at play than wind, which then led us to suggest that, you know, it might be hiker traffic. You know, people that are hiking up and down the mountain and right there at Lake Tier, whether it's, you know, our treads wearing down on our boots, whether it's, you know, synthetics from our clothing and things like that. So the suggestion was that, wow, you know, it's coming from, you know, people that are hiking and loving the Adirondacks, and that includes me. You know, I'm a 46er, and I've been up those mountains all over the place. So it begs further study and analysis and maybe fingerprinting, like, okay, you know, as the technology improves on this, you know, what's the source? Now, okay, so now we know that microplastics are there, but what, you know, is it from a tire? Is it from, you know, my piece of clothing? This is wool, but this is synthetic. Is it from the boots? Something like that. So we'll see how the technology changes, but it just again raises awareness of, and we all see this in the news more and more. I mean, we know that we have a teaspoon of microplastics in our brain, for example, and in our lungs and all that. So, you know, over the last 10 years, we've had quite the learning curve of the presence of, and we're learning more about maybe the long-term effects, short and long-term effects of microplastics in the environment and in our bodies. So, you know, we're looking forward to conducting more work here and there just to raise awareness and learn more about what we've already found.
So can you clarify the hiking part to Marcy? So did you camp out and then summit the next day?
Yeah. So yeah. No, it's a great question. So we got a great start that morning. We were hiking from the Adirondack Lodge at 7:30. There were several factors that made it a longer day than usual. We did not officially camp, some of us did, sleep out overnight. Understand that it was a film crew. We were filming. The drone guy and one of the, John Barnhardt was the main guy. He hiked with us. He had heavy cameras, and he was with one of his students, so there were 2 film folks with us. And then there were 2 film folks waiting at the other end at Upper Works. It's like, all right, so you guys at 9 o'clock p.m. You can film us coming out, whatever. Okay, there'll still be a little bit of light. The combination, it was a movie, so we were filming like, all right, let's do that take again, do that take again. We did some promotional videos for Grail Water Bottle Company. They were generous donors, so we took some time doing that. It was a beautiful day, so we spent a bunch of time up top on the summit, as you saw. We did our first water sample at Lake Tear the Clouds, so that took some time, and that was around 7 o'clock, as I said in the movie. So we wanted to make sure that was right, and then as the light started waning, we were going down toward Lake Colden. The director, he had trifocals on, so it just became all that much more difficult for him to gauge depth perception, so he got even slower. So he was slower to begin with because he was carrying equipment. And as many of you in this room know, John was from Colorado, so before the trip he's like, so how high is Mount Marcy? I said, 5,344 feet. He goes, oh. I live in Colorado, not a problem. It was a problem. We know the trails in the Adirondacks are a lot different than the trails out west in Colorado. So at some point, and it was probably around 10 o'clock, we were still maybe above Lake Colden, I made the decision in talking with some other of the leaders, I'm like, look, I gotta get these guys out of the woods. We're responsible for these 8 young men. I got to get them out of the woods. So I hate to do this as a leader, but we split. That left, so I got out with the guys, and it took us till 3:30 to make it to Upper Works. And the 2 film folks and 3 of the other leaders, the adult leaders, they stayed back. And because the John Barnhardt, God bless him, was traveling really slow, they decided to sleep, so they just slept on the ground. Fortunately, it was a beautiful night. Fires are illegal in the high peaks, eastern high peaks, but it was an emergency, so they did build a small fire, and folks slept on the ground around the fire, and 2 of the leaders kept feeding the fire. And John Barnhardt, he said it was probably the best 4 hours of sleep he'd gotten in a long time, sleeping right on the ground. The young lady, she had my puff jacket. That was her sleeping bag. And what I will say, one of the highlights of the whole experience for me was I was with the young guys, and we got to Lake Colden Dam. And 10:30, 11 o'clock. And all right, let's take a break and let's see what food we have, because we'd eaten all our lunch food, and it was way past dinner. So what do people have in the bag? So we're, like the one kid said, we pooled all our food together. And Isaiah, the tall curly-haired kid, he pulls out this plastic bag. He goes, oh, I don't know, my mom threw this in my pack. And it was like gummy worms and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, yes, we're gonna make it, we're gonna live. And so we passed around these gummy worms, and we passed around this other crap candy that he had in his bag. And we were a little energized. And then before we got going, we were right there at the Lake Colden Dam. I said, all right, we're gonna be okay, guys. Going to be okay. Let's turn off your headlamps and let's just sit here in quiet for a couple of minutes to enjoy this, because we could see Lake Colden from the dam, and then you could see the outline of Mount Colden on one side, and then Avalanche Mountain in the shoulder of Algonquin. There was a perfect reflection of the stars in Lake Colden. So it was pretty special, because some of these guys are coming from New York City, where they've never even seen a dark sky like that. So after a couple of minutes, it was pretty special. It was like, all right, let's go. And it took us still a while, but we made it out, and that was that. So that's why it took 20 hours. The guys were fine. The young kids, the young guys, they were good. It was just all the other little factors that contributed to it being more than an easy up and down hike over Marcy. So, yeah. I'll have some swag to sell if any of your purchases would support Adirondack Hamlets thoughts. Are there any other questions?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
And do you have any follow-up with the kids are doing now?
Yeah, Isaiah, the tall kid, he did change his major to environmental science, and so that was pretty cool. And then Sage, the kid from Saranac Lake, he's going to SUNY Plattsburgh. He became a river raft guide on the Hudson River, and he's been doing that for two summers, and he's going to be doing education, outdoor education and whatnot. So he is following that, so that's pretty exciting. And people have asked us about an all-women's trip. We went with all guys. That was intentional, because putting this trip together, there were so many layers of logistics and whatnot. It was complicated enough. We did not want to complicate things with teenage guys and teenage girls, whether we overthought that or not, but we decided to keep it, probably keep it single-sex, but we are. It's on our radar to do not the same trip, but to facilitate a similar experience that is all female. So so that's on our radar. It's just when we can figure out the timing and the logistics, because we would like to provide that opportunity. So
Any other questions?
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.